Welcome. This 5-part interview series is devoted to Savannah's 6th District City Alderman Tony Thomas. In it, there are first-hand accounts of his alcohol abuse, drug abuse, stolen valor, lies, mismanagement of City of Savannah funds, and overt sexual predatory behavior. If you are also a victim of Tony Thomas, please reach out to us. Only your testimony can help shed a brighter light on what has occurred over the last 20 plus years to an estimated 200 young boys. Forever scarred, many beset with lifelong alcohol drug abuse problems and the mental anguish of being the unwilling victim of an expert sexual groomer and abusive predator. These are the Chronicles.
I first met Tony Thomas when my family and myself were members of the Windsor Forest Country Club prior to Tony owning it. I got to know Tony better when I was around 15, I believe, is when he became owner of the Windsor Forest Country Club, and seeing that I had always been a good helper around the pool, had offered me to continue working in that position at the pool, just basically a gopher boy. Welcome to the club.
The perpetrator or predator misleads the child. The child is encouraged to think that this predator is a nice person. It's usually a man by statistical reports, and the child can be anywhere from an infant up to 18 years old. Even after that, many of the victims seem younger than their chronological age, and in my mind, they are still victims. These people are usually authority figures in some way that most of us might appreciate. For instance, if it's my father's best friend, then I'm going to think this guy's okay because he's a friend of my father's. So authority figures can be anyone from relatives, neighbors, babysitters, bus drivers, doctors, people that have private time with the child and that there's no suspicion of the misuse of the time.
In the beginning, everything was nice. He was very personable. He was always going out of his way to help us and gain our trust, I would say. And everything was fine in the beginning. I mean, we were young. I was 15. I didn't know any better. So I just did what he said because he was an adult, an authority figure, because he owned the pool, and I just did what he said. But it eventually got to the point where we started noticing things just going by the wayside, such as the concession stand running out of food but not being replenished on a regular basis, just repairs to the pool that were never addressed, things like plumbing issues in the bathrooms, no like daily cleaning schedule to speak of in the bathrooms. The pump room began falling apart, the roof was caving in. None of these issues had ever been addressed, and this was, the entire time that I worked for the pool. We would bring it to his attention, and it would just, that was it. It just stopped right there. As anybody who's familiar with the neighborhood would know, that eventually, because of the state of disrepair, the pool was not allowed to open 1 year, and that was the end of the Windsor Forest Country Club. During that time, he did spend an inordinate amount of time with me versus other people at the pool. At the time, I thought it was because, I worked for him at the pool.
The grooming process starts with the community. And by the community, I mean a community. It could be a small town, it could be a family, it could be a church community, a school community, a PTA community, a sports community, somewhere where that offender, that perpetrator, is going to gain the trust and the respect of a large group of people who don't want to think that this person could possibly hurt their child. It's very frequent and very common. The problem is we don't see it coming because they look like nice people.
I noticed that it was always me and a select few group of other boys that he would always spend time with. We would ride with him to Sam's. To when he did buy stuff for the pool, he would ask us to go with him to Sam's, and he would take us all over town in his truck and do things. And it was a little strange because he was always acting a little unusual, just not like somebody who was had all their gears running. You know if you catch my drift. It's just very strange, because we were young, and he would always, be talking to us like we were young. It got to the point where he would, he was buying us food, he was buying us lunch. If he was having beer, he would offer it to us. And then we thought, well, hell, this is a guy that could buy us beer. So my friends and I had kind of always had like a plan to like ask him to, buy us beer and stuff, because we knew he would. During that time, I never received a cent from Tony Thomas, and neither did anybody else that worked for him, as far as I know. We would ask and ask and ask, and he never gave us any money. He might have bought us lunch and stuff like that, but he never gave us a paycheck to speak of. He had also, at one time during our tenure at the pool, had taken myself and who I would call his favorite boys, which were two other lifeguards and one of their brothers, to Universal Studios. Just us four and him. We had to be like 16 years old during this time. And he probably at the beginning of that week before we left said, hey, I want to go to Universal Studios with you guys. And by the end of the week, he was picking us up from our parents' house early in the morning to head to Florida. I found out about my accommodations when we arrived. We had pulled right up to the Portofino Bay Hotel, which is one of the hotels that is on the lot. So it's a very nice, like 4-star resort on the lot. Checked into our hotel room, walked up to the actual room itself, and noticed that, it was very nice and everything, but there was just one California king-size bed for Tony Thomas and us 4 boys. And that's what our accommodations were. And we were expected to sleep in that bed with him each night. He even said, oh, come on, we're all guys, it's no big deal, blah, blah, blah. But he was just very like, hey, just do it, oh, it's fine. Don't sleep on the floor, there's a tile floor, it's cold, just come sleep in the bed with us, it's fine, don't worry about it. Things like that. And I did sleep on the floor because I did not want to get into the bed because it made me feel very uncomfortable. And I didn't like any of it. He was always touching us. He was always roughhousing with us like our peers would, not like another adult would, but like my fellow peers. Such as, doing the whole like, hey, how you doing? Coming up behind you and like grabbing your shoulders, or grabbing you by the side, or like grabbing you and pulling you towards himself, and kind of trying to move his hands where he wanted to. And it was strange, it was odd behavior for an adult to be touching a minor that way. It was just as if he wanted something more. We all took our showers separately, but when it was time for Tony to take a shower and get ready to go out wherever we were going, he always left the door open. It's another thing I found very odd in a hotel room with a bunch of 16-year-old boys. He said, even stated, I'm going to leave the door open. And just went in and took a shower with the door open right here in front of us. He had, from what I saw, he had a relationship with the other boys very similar to myself. There was one boy in particular that he spent a lot more time with than he did us. As an adult, looking back to when I was 16 and that behavior, it seems like he would zero in on certain boys. And I'm not sure, what was going on between those boys and him. But what would happen to his other favorite boys is we would all want to spend more time with him because he was kind of ignoring us. So, like I said, looking back as an adult, back to when I was a minor, he probably was doing that on purpose.
A sexual predator will use money, prestige, information, jobs, and gifts to get to a child, an older child. The predator will stop at nothing to achieve his ends.
We had all talked amongst ourselves that we had thought that Tony was a homosexual male that spent a lot more time with children than he should. Teenagers, in particular, teenage boys. He didn't care about the female lifeguards. Didn't even talk to them, ever. And even to the point where it was beyond my friends and I, even my parents and our parents were always making little comments about, you need to be careful, You know, all right, I'm gonna pick you up right at 6. You make sure you are where people can see you when I pick you up, and stuff like that. Anytime we were off out and about with Tony, no other adult was comfortable with it.
There is no common trait when it comes to professions. Perpetrators, predators are found anywhere from the ground up in an organization. It could be the mail carrier, it could be the president of the corporation. They are usually intelligent. In fact, the more sophisticated ones are highly intelligent and highly manipulative, and they cover themselves very well.
Tony Thomas supplied us alcohol one time that I can remember after a teen night that we were all working at the pool together, and was congratulating us on, you know, successfully running a good teen night for the pool, and had a beer and offered it to me and the other boys lifeguards that were on duty at the time. In Universal Studios, he was sharing his drinks with all of us. Whenever he ordered alcohol, he would always pass it to each of us. One of the other boys at the pool did get a lot from him as far as going out to lunch and dinner and things like that. One of the lifeguards did have he was a skateboarder, and he had broken his skateboard, and Tony Thomas had purchased new wheels for him. Just out of the blue, just showed up to the pool. Hey, here's new wheels for your skateboard. I don't ever recall seeing Tony Thomas bringing females to the pool with him. In fact, I don't ever recall seeing Tony Thomas with a female ever until I found out he was dating my best friend's mother, which I found out through my mother because they're friends and everything. But we never saw them together. In fact, she complained about him all the time. I heard her complaints firsthand. She would complain that he was always inebriated, possibly on pills, some kind of barbiturates, that he was always, you know, just completely intoxicated, not able to carry on conversations with her, and she, you know, never went out of his way to be with her. They never had sex. She complained about that to my mother, not me personally. You know, that they never had sex or anything, and then eventually she just left him. She said, that's enough. You know, he didn't even call her. You know, just every now and then they would go out to dinner. It does seem like it was almost a front. You know, hey, here's this girl. Don't worry about me. Here's this girl on my right arm. Don't worry about me, boys, because I got a girlfriend. Kind of like that. Tony Thomas was with money the way a child was with candy. As soon as he had it, it was gone. Never reinvested in the pool, never reinvested in himself, never reinvested in us, his employees. Just speaking about this pool strictly, no money was spent on the pool. I mean, bills were paid, I'm sure, but eventually they stopped getting paid because I did see some bills with final notices on the front of them in the office of the concession room. And like I said, with the state of disrepair, I mean, it was very obvious that any money that Tony had was not going into the pool. Tony Thomas did mention his previous military experience as a United States Ranger. He had talked a lot about going through training to be a Ranger. He had even told other people that he met that he was a Ranger. And as you know, I firmly believe that. You know, as far as I knew, you know, as a young, impressionable child, he said he was a Ranger, and I said, okay.
Perpetrators are not typically violent in the ways that we would think, like guns, knives, physical violence. The abuse itself is violence, but he doesn't look at it that way.
Tony did bring other boys by. They were a little bit older than we were. They were not members of the country club, but they were just with him. And that in of itself I found odd, because he had always spent so much time with us and his favorite boys, and so much time at the pool every day, that, you know, if he were to show up with somebody else, like it was immediately noticed and it was counted as unusual. I believe this boy was some kind of, I don't know, he did some kind of landscaping or construction or something like that. But he showed up at the pool with this one boy a couple of times, but he stayed in the truck. Maybe he got out, walked around, but he never swam in the pool. He was not a member of the pool. He was just with Tony. It was just Tony's new boy.
The predator is already attracted to a certain age group or body type. he will go for that age group and body type over and over and over again. So the child is targeted.
I look at these pictures and I'm like, what? Like, this is crazy. And these kids are like 17. He's like posting, and then you can see in the background, just with us at Universal, we had that one bed in the hotel room, and all of these pictures that I've seen on Facebook of him, there, you look in the background, there's just one bed. It was very odd. It's very odd to see an adult male, a politician, posting hundreds of pictures of him and teenage boys together, arm in arm, on Facebook.
A sophisticated predator will laugh it off. How ridiculous. How could that ever happen? They really are good at covering up. The main things that perpetrators do is abuse children and cover it up. They have families, they have organizations, they have credentials, they've got time on their side. They think that they are untouchable.
Here he is in New York City with Tony Thomas in a one-bed hotel room, you know, just putting all these pictures on Facebook. It's like, how do you get away with that? How do you have 1,000 friends on Facebook? You're posting pictures of you and 17-year-old boys with a whole spread of like shots and chocolates in front of you. How do you get away with that? You know, how?